Stop what you're doing, because January 9th just changed the conversation, and millions of Americans are waking up to headlines they didn't expect to see this early in the year. New stimulus checks are suddenly back in the news, and a major government announcement has added fuel to the fire. Social media is exploding, inboxes are filling up, and people everywhere are asking the same urgent question: is this real? And does it apply to me? Here's the truth. This isn't just another recycled rumor or clickbait promise. Something concrete has arrived, and it's directly tied to cost of living pressure, inflation fatigue, and growing concern over household stability. Officials are responding to mounting public pressure, and what was once dismissed as not happening is now officially being discussed, clarified, and in some cases rolled out. But the details matter, and misunderstanding them could cost you time, money, or eligibility. Who qualifies for these new payments? How much money are we talking about? Is this a one-time check, recurring relief, or targeted assistance? And most importantly, what does the January 9 announcement actually confirm, and what is still being twisted online? In this video, we're breaking it all down clearly and responsibly. No hype, no false promises, just verified updates, realistic expectations, and what you need to know right now to avoid confusion or missed opportunities. If you're feeling the pressure at the grocery store, the gas pump, or your rent payment, this information matters. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor: hit the like button. It helps this update reach more people who need real answers, not rumors. All right, let's move hook and get into what January 9 actually means, because the moment headlines mention stimulus checks again, confusion spreads faster than facts, and the last thing Americans need right now is more uncertainty layered on top of rising costs and financial stress. What makes this update different from the dozens of rumors people have seen over the past year is that it didn't originate from social media speculation. It came from official movement, public statements, and documented policy actions that signal a shift in tone from government leaders who previously shut down any talk of additional relief. That shift alone is why this moment matters. When language changes, policy direction often follows, and January 9th marks one of those moments where behind-the-scenes decisions are finally becoming visible to the public. For months, Americans have been told to adjust, tighten budgets, and wait it out while inflation cooled. But for many households, the pressure never eased. Grocery bills stayed high, rent climbed again, insurance premiums jumped, utility costs spiked, and even with inflation slowing on paper, real life never felt cheaper. That disconnect is exactly what pushed lawmakers back to the table, because when enough people struggle at once, ignoring it becomes politically impossible. The January 9th announcement didn't come with fireworks or a single sweeping check mailed to everyone. Instead, it came with something more realistic and more complex: targeted relief discussions, updated funding guidance, and confirmation that new payments are actively being deployed in specific categories. That's why some people are already seeing deposits, notices, or confirmations, while others are still waiting for clarity. This uneven rollout is intentional, but it's also what's causing confusion. One of the biggest misunderstandings right now is the belief that this is a repeat of past stimulus programs. It isn't. This round looks different because the economic conditions are different. Instead of universal checks, the focus has shifted toward targeted assistance, cost of living relief, and benefit-based payments tied to specific eligibility criteria. That means income level, household status, benefit participation, and even state-level programs all play a role. Some payments are connected to existing benefit systems, which allows money to move faster without new applications. Others are administered through state or federal relief programs that already exist but are now receiving fresh funding or expanded authority. This approach reduces delays, but it also means people who aren't plugged into the system may miss out simply because they don't realize they qualify. Another reason January 9th stands out is timing. The new year resets budgets, projections, and public expectations. Governments don't like surprises in January, which tells you this wasn't a last-minute decision. Planning happened months ago. Funding conversations happened quietly. And now, with financial pressure still weighing heavily on voters, announcements are finally surfacing. That's why it's important to separate what's confirmed from what's exaggerated. Confirmed means funds are authorized, programs are active, and payments are either being issued or prepared. Exaggerated claims usually involve blanket statements like, "Everyone is getting a check," or inflated dollar amounts with no source. Those claims spread fast, but they don't hold up. What's real is that certain groups are receiving relief tied to cost of living adjustments, benefit recalculations, refunds, credits, or emergency assistance programs. Some of this money is labeled as stimulus informally, even if it doesn't carry that official name. And for households receiving it, the label matters far less than the impact. Another key factor driving this update is economic optics. Officials know that telling people the economy is improving doesn't help if bank accounts say otherwise. January is when financial reality hits hardest after the holidays, and pressure builds quickly. That reality shapes decisions, especially in an election-focused environment where public perception carries weight. Now let's address eligibility, because this is where most people get lost. Eligibility is not one size fits all. Some payments are automatic for those already enrolled in certain programs. Others require meeting income thresholds. Some are limited to families, seniors, or individuals with specific expenses. And some are administered at the state level, meaning neighbors in different states may experience completely different outcomes. This complexity is frustrating, but it's also why staying informed matters. Assuming you don't qualify without checking is one of the most common mistakes people make. Assuming you do qualify without verification is another. The smartest approach right now is awareness without assumptions. The January 9th announcement also included language that signals future movement, not just what's happening now, but what's being considered next. That's important because relief often comes in phases. Initial funding opens the door. Additional measures follow once impact is measured. This staged approach allows flexibility, but it also requires patience. One thing that hasn't changed is the speed at which misinformation spreads. The moment people hear checks, expectations skyrocket. When reality doesn't match hype, frustration follows. That's why grounded information is critical. Relief doesn't fix everything, but it can provide breathing room, and that breathing room matters more than ever. For families balancing childcare, groceries, and housing, even a modest payment can prevent a missed bill or a credit card charge that spirals later. For seniors on fixed incomes, unexpected costs hit hardest. For workers stuck between wages and expenses, relief can stabilize a fragile month. These realities are why January 9th resonated so strongly. It's also why the government's announcement focused on stabilization rather than celebration. The tone was cautious for a reason. Overpromising creates backlash. Understating still allows action. That balance tells you officials are walking carefully, aware that trust is fragile. Looking ahead, the most important thing viewers can do is stay engaged. Updates won't always come with headlines. Some arrive quietly through program notices or benefit statements. Others appear as deposits with unfamiliar descriptions. Recognizing legitimate payments versus scams is critical, especially when fake messages spike during real relief efforts. Scammers rely on confusion, and moments like this create opportunity for them. That's another reason clear communication matters. Knowing what to expect reduces risk. As this situation develops, clarity will increase. More details will be released. Eligibility guidance will expand. And for many people, relief will arrive without fanfare, simply showing up when it's needed most. That doesn't make it less real. It makes it more functional. January 9 isn't about hype. It's about movement. It's about acknowledgement. And it's about the reality that financial pressure hasn't gone away just because the calendar changed. That acknowledgement alone is meaningful. If you're watching this because you're trying to stay ahead, you're doing the right thing. Information is leverage. Awareness is protection. And understanding what's real helps you plan instead of panic. As more confirmations come in, we'll continue breaking them down clearly, without exaggeration and without dismissing the real struggles people face. Because relief is only helpful if people understand it. If this breakdown helped you feel more informed and less confused about what January 9 actually brought, make sure you hit the like button. It helps push accurate updates to more people who need them, and it ensures you don't miss what comes next. And what comes next is just as important as what has already arrived. When governments roll out relief in stages, the first wave is often the quietest. It tests systems, measures response, and gauges public reaction. Once that groundwork is laid, adjustments follow. Expanded eligibility, clarified guidance, additional funding streams. That's why January 9th shouldn't be viewed as the end of the story, but as the beginning of a new phase. Right now, many Americans are checking their bank accounts more often than they want to admit. Not out of greed, but out of necessity. People are stretched thin, and any unexpected deposit can feel like a lifeline. At the same time, the uncertainty of not knowing whether help is coming creates a constant low-level stress that never really turns off. That stress is exactly what policymakers are responding to, even if they don't always say it plainly. What's important to understand is that relief doesn't always arrive with a press conference. Sometimes it shows up as an adjustment, a credit, a recalculated benefit, a refund processed faster than expected. These things don't trend on social media, but they matter just as much to the people receiving them. And January 9th opened the door for more of those quiet but meaningful changes. Another reason this update matters is because it signals a shift in priorities. For much of the past year, the message was restraint. Hold the line, no new spending. Let the economy stabilize on its own. But stability on paper doesn't help families who are still behind. When that reality becomes impossible to ignore, priorities change. And January 9th reflects that change. This doesn't mean unlimited checks or permanent relief. It means targeted responses to specific pressures. It means acknowledging that while inflation has cooled, affordability hasn't fully recovered. It means recognizing that certain groups were hit harder and are recovering slower. That recognition is the foundation of every program being discussed right now. It's also why patience matters. Relief mechanisms take time to reach everyone they're intended to help. Systems must verify eligibility. Funds must be distributed correctly. Oversight must be maintained to prevent abuse. All of that slows things down, but it also protects the integrity of the process. Frustrating as it is, speed without structure creates bigger problems later. For viewers wondering whether more announcements are coming, the answer is yes, but not all at once. Information will come in pieces. Some updates will be technical, others will be clearer. Staying engaged allows you to connect those dots instead of reacting to isolated headlines. And let's address expectations honestly. Not everyone will receive money. That's the reality of targeted relief. But many more people qualify than realize it, simply because they assume eligibility is narrower than it actually is. Programs often rely on existing data, which means people already in the system are more likely to benefit automatically. That's why staying connected to benefit portals, mail notices, and official communications matters. It's also why ignoring updates can cost you. Relief often has windows, deadlines, response periods. Missing those doesn't mean you were excluded intentionally. It means the system moved on without you. Awareness keeps you in the loop. Another thing January 9th revealed is how sensitive the public is to financial messaging right now. People are listening closely, reading between the lines, watching actions more than words. That pressure influences how future announcements are framed. Governments don't want backlash from false hope, but they also don't want to appear indifferent. That balancing act shapes every statement. That's why clarity from trusted sources is essential. The louder misinformation gets, the more valuable grounded explanations become. Knowing what's confirmed helps you plan realistically. Knowing what's still under discussion prevents disappointment. For families trying to map out the next few months, even partial certainty helps. Knowing whether assistance is possible changes decisions about bills, savings, and priorities. That's why updates like this resonate so deeply. They're not abstract, they're practical. As January continues, you'll likely see more adjustments tied to cost of living data, benefit recalculations, and funding reallocations. These aren't always labeled as stimulus, but they function the same way by increasing cash flow or reducing financial pressure. Understanding that distinction helps manage expectations. It's also worth saying this clearly. Relief doesn't mean failure. Needing help doesn't mean you did something wrong. Economic shifts affect everyone differently, and systems exist for a reason. Using them is not a weakness. It's how they're designed to work. January 9th reminded a lot of people that they're not invisible, that someone is paying attention. Even if relief isn't perfect or immediate, acknowledgement matters. And acknowledgement is often the first step toward action. As we move forward, staying calm, informed, and realistic is your best advantage. Panic leads to bad decisions. Information leads to better ones. And while uncertainty is uncomfortable, it's easier to handle when you understand what's actually happening. We'll continue tracking updates as they come, breaking down what's real, what's changing, and what it means for everyday Americans. Because you deserve information that respects your time, your intelligence, and your reality. If you've stayed with this video until now, it means you care about staying ahead instead of being caught off guard. That mindset makes all the difference. And if this explanation helped you feel more grounded about the January 9 update and what it could mean for you or your family, make sure you hit the like button. It helps get clear, accurate information in front of more people who need it right now, and it lets us keep bringing you updates that actually matter.